You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
If securing your network feels harder than it should be, you're not imagining it. Modern businesses need strong protection, but they don't always have the time, staff, or patience for complex setups. That's where NordLayer comes in. NordLayer is a toggle-ready network security platform built for businesses. It brings VPN, access control, and threat protection together in one place. No hardware, no complicated configuration. You can deploy it in minutes and be up and running in less than 10. It's built on zero-trust principles, so only the right people can get access to the right resources. It works across all major platforms, scales easily as your teams grow, and integrates with what you already use. And now, NordLayer goes even further through its partnership with CrowdStrike, combining NordLayer's network security with Falcon endpoint protection for small and mid-sized businesses. Enterprise-grade security made manageable. Try NordLayer risk-free and get up to 22% off yearly plans, plus an extra 10% with the code CyberWire10. Visit nordlayer.com/CyberWireDaily to learn more. Google dismantles a huge residential proxy network. Did the FBI take down the notorious RAMP cybercrime forum? A long-running North Korea-backed cyber operation has splintered into 3 specialized threat groups. U.S. military cyber operators carried out a covert operation to disrupt Russian troll networks ahead of the 2024 elections. Phishing campaigns target journalists using the Signal app. SolarWinds patches vulnerabilities in its web help desk product. Amazon found CSAM in its AI training data. Initial access brokers switch up their preferred bot. China executes scam center kingpins. Our guest is Tom Pace, CEO of NetRise, explaining how open-source vulnerabilities can be open doors for nation-states. And an unsecured webcam peers into Pyongyang. It's Thursday, January 29th, 2026. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. Great as always to have you with us. Google and its partners have launched a coordinated operation to dismantle IPEDIA, a residential proxy network security experts describe as one of the largest of its kind. The service routes internet traffic through millions of everyday consumer devices worldwide, allowing attackers to blend malicious activity into normal user traffic. According to analysts at Google Cloud, this infrastructure has been widely abused by criminal and nation-state groups to support cyber attacks, espionage, and data theft. IPEDIA operates by embedding hidden software development kits into legitimate-looking apps, such as games and utilities. Once installed, these SDKs quietly turn user devices into proxy exit nodes without clear consent. Google reports that in a single 7-day period in January of this year, more than 550 tracked threat groups relied on IPEDIA nodes for activities, including business system access and password spraying. Enforcement actions, supported by partners like Cloudflare, disrupted core infrastructure and removed millions of infected devices, though experts warn similar networks continue to grow. The notorious RAMP cybercrime forum, widely used by ransomware groups and initial access brokers, appears to have been seized by the Federal Bureau of Investigation after its websites were replaced with an FBI seizure notice. The U.S. Department of Justice has not confirmed the action publicly, prompting some skepticism given past exit scams in the cybercrime ecosystem. DNS records reportedly showed RAMP redirecting to an FBI-controlled domain, though the notice lacks the international partner logos typically seen in coordinated takedowns. RAMP served Russian, Chinese, and English-speaking criminals and was previously administered by Mikhail Matveev before control reportedly passed to a hacker known as Stallman, who now claims law enforcement has taken over the forum. Former U.S. intelligence official Laura Galante said such disruptions are intended to fragment cybercrime markets, making them less stable and harder for dominant groups to emerge. CrowdStrike reports that a long-running North Korea-backed cyber operation has splintered into 3 specialized threat groups, reflecting a more mature and bureaucratic structure. The original group, dubbed Labyrinth Kolyma, now focuses primarily on espionage, targeting manufacturing, logistics, defense, and aerospace organizations in Europe and the United States. 2 offshoots, Golden Kolyma and Pressure Kolyma, concentrate on cryptocurrency theft to generate revenue for the regime. According to CrowdStrike, Pressure Kolyma carried out last year's record $1.46 billion crypto theft and is among North Korea's most technically advanced actors. The groups share infrastructure and lineage with the broader Lazarus Group, indicating centralized coordination. CrowdStrike says the continued diversification allows Pyongyang to expand cyber operations while funding them under the pressure of international sanctions. CNN reports that weeks before the 2024 election, U.S. military cyber operators carried out a covert operation to disrupt Russian troll networks targeting American voters, according to sources briefed on the effort. From U.S. Cyber Command, hackers interfered with servers and personnel linked to Russian firms spreading fabricated news aimed at swing states, particularly attacking politicians supportive of Ukraine. One source said the operation slowed but did not stop the activity. The action was part of a broader multi-agency push involving the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to blunt foreign election interference. However, under President Donald Trump's second administration, many election security and counter-influence programs have since been cut or dismantled. Current and former officials warn those reductions have weakened the federal response, just as Russia, China, and Iran continue to refine influence operations, raising concerns ahead of the 2026 midterms. Journalists and civil society figures in Germany and elsewhere in Europe are being targeted by a sustained phishing campaign abusing the Signal messaging app, according to reporting by Netzpolitik.org. The attacks impersonate Signal support, warning recipients of suspicious activity and urging them to share a verification code. Security experts say the campaign appears highly targeted, focused on journalists, lawyers, politicians, and activists, and may be spreading through stolen address book data. According to Amnesty International, the campaign is active, although it remains unclear how many victims were compromised. If users share both the verification code and their Signal PIN, attackers can take over accounts, lock out legitimate users, and access contacts and group memberships, potentially exposing sources and networks. Signal says the attacks do not exploit flaws in its software and stresses it never contacts users via in-app chats, urging users to enable registration lock and never share codes or PINs. Signal Foundation President Meredith Whittaker warned that artificial intelligence agents embedded in operating systems are undermining the real-world protections of end-to-end encryption. Speaking to Bloomberg at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Whittaker said encryption remains mathematically sound, but AI assistants often require broad system access that exposes decrypted messages. She cited research showing misconfigured AI agent tools linked to Signal accounts, allowing plain text message access, and argued that encryption cannot compensate for near root-level access by AI systems. SolarWinds has released patches for 6 vulnerabilities in its web help desk product, including 4 critical flaws with CVSS scores of 9.8. The most severe is an unauthenticated deserialization bug that could enable remote code execution, according to researchers at Horizon3.ai. 3 additional critical issues include another deserialization flaw and 2 authentication bypass bugs. 2 high-severity issues involve security control bypass and hard-coded credentials. All flaws are fixed in the latest version of Web Help Desk, and SolarWinds urges organizations to update promptly. Amazon reported hundreds of thousands of suspected child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, discoveries last year while scanning data used to train its artificial intelligence models, according to reporting by Bloomberg. The material was removed before training, but officials at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children say Amazon provided little detail about the content's origin, limiting law enforcement's ability to identify perpetrators or protect victims. NCMEC says AI-related CSAM reports surged more than 15-fold in 2025, with Amazon accounting for the vast majority. Amazon says the data came from external sources and was flagged through automated scanning using deliberately over-inclusive thresholds that may produce false positives. Child safety experts warn the findings highlight risks in rapidly assembling large AI training datasets without sufficient safeguards or transparency. Researchers at Proofpoint report that prolific initial access broker TA584 has escalated operations by deploying SundareBot alongside the Xworm remote access Trojan, activity that could enable follow-on ransomware attacks. Proofpoint has tracked TA584 since 2020 and says its campaign volume tripled in late 2025, expanding beyond North America and the UK into Europe and Australia. The attack chain relies on phishing emails sent from compromised accounts via services like SendGrid and Amazon SES. Victims are funneled through CAPTCHA and ClickFix pages that prompt them to run PowerShell commands, loading malware directly into memory. SundareBot, first documented by Kaspersky, supports data theft, lateral movement, and payload delivery. Proofpoint assesses with high confidence that these infections could ultimately lead to ransomware deployment. China has executed 11 people linked to cyber scam centers operating in Myanmar, according to state media. The individuals, described as core members of the Ming family criminal gang, were convicted of fraud, running illegal casinos, and intentional homicide. Authorities say the syndicate handled more than $1.4 billion in illicit funds and was tied to multiple deaths. The executions come amid broader regional crackdowns on scam operations, which the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime says are expanding across Southeast Asia and often involve human trafficking. Coming up after the break, Tom Pace from NetRise explains how open-source vulnerabilities are opening doors for nation-states, and an unsecured webcam peers into Pyongyang. Stay with us. What's your 2 a.m. security worry? Is it, do I have the right controls in place? Maybe, are my vendors secure? Or the one that really keeps you up at night, how do I get out from under these old tools and manual processes? That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta automates the manual work so you can stop sweating over spreadsheets, chasing audit evidence, and filling out endless questionnaires. Their trust management platform continuously monitors your systems, centralizes your data, and simplifies your security at scale. And it fits right into your workflows, using AI to streamline evidence collection, flag risks, and keep your program audit ready, all the time. With Vanta, you get everything you need to move faster, scale confidently, and finally, get back to sleep. Get started at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber. When it comes to mobile application security, good enough is a risk. A recent survey shows that 72% of organizations reported at least one mobile application security incident last year, and 92% of responders reported threat levels have increased in the past 2 years. GuardSquare delivers the highest level of security for your mobile apps without compromising performance, time to market, or user experience. Discover how GuardSquare provides industry-leading security for your Android and iOS apps at www.guardsquare.com. Tom Pace is a former DOE cyber analyst and now CEO of NetRise. We recently sat down to discuss how open-source vulnerabilities are opening doors for nation-states and why visibility into who maintains code repositories matters.
Essentially, Senator Tom Cotton reached out to the National Cyber Director and basically brought to their attention that the issues and risks associated with open source software. He called out a handful of specific examples. Number one was a piece of software that a Russia-based developer is the sole maintainer of. And so, there is a handful of assumptions and inferences being made as a result of that. Just because someone's in Russia, does that always mean they're acting on behalf of the Russian government? Obviously not. Is it something we should pay attention to and at least be aware of so that we can make an appropriate data-driven risk-based decision? Definitely. And then there was another one which was centered around XZUtils, which was actually a particular incident that we did some really interesting research as part of an article that came out in Wired that Danielle actually helped us with. But the issue here is understanding provenance of open source components is equally as critical in 2025 and 2026 as, arguably, in my opinion, significantly more critical than the traditional supply chain. Knowing where your raw materials and your chips and all of those things come from is obviously very important for a slightly different reason. For the software piece, you can be certain that there are risks and issues that are in your software supply chain that you have absolutely no idea about. That I think is basically a high-level overview of the challenges that Senator Tom Cotton was putting forth to the White House.
And in your estimation, where do we stand today in terms of both private organizations, but then the government as well, to be able to evaluate what their risk level is here?
Capabilities exist and are not being used, would I think be the most fair way. The government, in particular the Department of War, really they desire an approach to these types of things that aligns with, compliance and regulatory frameworks and sets of controls that people can be measured in a test against. And there's nothing about any of the issues that are called out in this particular letter that really aligns well to that. And what's happening is there's a recent RFI summary, I guess, document that came out called SWIFT for the Software Fast Track Initiative, which is basically the Department of War's desire to be able to procure and acquire software more rapidly for obvious reasons, but in so doing also needs to be able to understand and evaluate the risk of software in a much more comprehensive and programmatic way. And so, this is where SBOMs come in and other artifacts can be extracted, generated, and analyzed to determine risk. And provenance would be another good element here as part of that entire process. So getting everybody on the same page in terms of understanding that these issues exist is just incredible. And once again, the software supply chain issues are really being led from the federal government, which is not usually how nascent and bleeding edge cyber capabilities enter the market, just generally speaking. So that's just an interesting dynamic. And the reason I think that's the case is they understand that the consequences for them are very, very different compared to the commercial sector. And finally, people have paid attention to how insane this problem is. And the fact that we're just relying on infrastructure that's decades old and software components that are decades old and just have all these issues it's not new. But people are finally starting to pay attention to it, thankfully.
So what do you suppose is to be done then? What's a realistic, practical way to come at this problem?
Well, the first thing you have to do is get visibility so you can actually ascertain the data that you have so you can analyze it. One of the problems I've seen that's come out of certain government agencies is they build guidance and frameworks without data. And when you do that, listen, it's better than not doing it at all. So, I'm supportive of it from that perspective. But if you don't have a data set to utilize as you're building out the framework or whatever it is, the maturity model, you're going to make decisions that may render the compliance framework or whatever somewhat useless at the end of the day if everything gets caught or if nothing gets caught or whatever it is. So that would be the recommendation, would be essentially generate a large data set, figure out the things that you think you need to care about. So if it's like, hey, these contributors are coming from China, this set of countries, whatever they are, these contributors have had their credentials breached or stolen in breaches. These contributors are associated with known threat groups, known malware campaigns, known botnet campaigns. Like all of that intelligence is available and can be generated. That's obviously something we know a lot about. The government has been doing active research in open source software security. We've been directly involved in that. CISA a couple years ago put out the open source security roadmap that had a handful of steps in it that guided everybody along in terms of the types of visibility and the types of analysis one should do to determine if open source components are problematic or not. But there's a number of other issues too.
I guess on the one hand, it's a good sign that Senator Cotton is pursuing this. But on the other hand, is this a situation where you hope it doesn't go long enough that we have some sort of event that we have to react to make everybody sit up and pay attention?
We've already had many events.
Yeah. So that horse has left the barn.
That horse left the barn 30 years ago.
Okay.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a new problem. This is an ancient problem. Open source software didn't just become an issue last week. It's been an issue for ever since we've been using it. You have the Linux. It's part of like the society we've built as Americans that matriculated into the world. So open source software, look at the Linux kernel. If you go to the Linux kernel website, you'll see a handful of logos on there that are massive contributors to that code base. One of those companies is Huawei. They're a huge contributor to the Linux kernel. So it's not a secret. Like they're not hiding anything. In fact, they're advertising it to the world. Like, look at us. We are contributing to the Linux kernel. We are making this thing better. We are contributing in an open and transparent way. Because there's this assumption that open source is always a more secure thing because of people are looking at it. That I think that's generally true. That's why the XZUtils thing was caught, even though it was caught basically at the last minute. But nonetheless, it was caught. So this is an old problem that's getting new attention. So, there's a great saying, the best time to do something was yesterday and the second best time is today.
Are you optimistic that we're headed in the right direction as we head into this new year?
I'm super optimistic about what's going on, especially from the federal government's perspective, in terms of the software supply chain security narrative. They're going to be doing things that the commercial sector is barely almost considering in a lot of ways, which is just fascinating.
It feels almost upside down.
Yeah,
right?
And it's actually valuable, which is the other important thing.
Okay.
The federal government has a lot of requirements that the commercial sector doesn't have, but that's not always valuable, right? This is actually valuable. So, yeah, whether it's upside down or not, it's upside down given our frame of reference for how the government has typically behaved. But in my opinion, this is not upside down. In a society, you should care about the things that matter the most and are the most critical to that society continuing to function. Well, isn't that the government? If the government goes down, if the government has a systemic issue with this kind of problem, so they should be the ones that tend to lead from the front. That has not been the case historically, but it seems on some of these issues that they desire to lead from the front, which, hey, they're the biggest software buyer on planet Earth. Makes sense to me.
That's Tom Pace from NetRise.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
And finally, our Turnabout is Fair Play desk tells us a North Korean hacking unit reportedly got hacked itself. A YouTuber chasing online scammers stumbled into a military computer and, via webcam, caught everyday scenes of uniformed North Korean soldiers at work, polishing boots, typing code, and swatting mosquitoes. Location data placed them near Pyongyang, despite VPNs pretending they were abroad, which is awkward. The footage feeds a familiar story. Investigators like the FBI often blame North Korea for cybercrime, and here the soldiers were moonlighting as remote developers on LinkedIn. With help from tools like ChatGPT, they landed jobs, collected salaries for the regime, and sometimes graduated to data theft and ransomware. The same playbook has fueled major crypto heists, including the Bybit hack and ad-driven malware campaigns abusing platforms like Google. The humor fades at the punchline. Cybercrime is estimated to fund a significant slice of Pyongyang's economy, and AI is making the whole operation faster, cheaper, and harder to spot. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. If you only attend one cybersecurity conference this year, make it RSAC 2026. It's happening March 23rd through the 26th in San Francisco, bringing together the global security community for 4 days of expert insights, hands-on learning, and real innovation. I'll say this plainly, I never miss this conference. The ideas and conversations stay with me all year. Join thousands of practitioners and leaders tackling today's toughest challenges and shaping what comes next. Register today at rsaconference.com/cyberwire26. I'll see you in San Francisco.